Hi, this is Billie Beene here with another segment of Truth by Billie Beene. Today's date is November 23, 2022, episode 467. American citizens equal slaves when digital money is combined with social score. Some of my sources are God in the Bible, Patriot Subscriber, Pastor Paul Begley, and Mike from around the world, Dr. M Salla, BPEarthwatch, Joshua Philipp with Crossroads and Epoch Times, Off-Grid Desert Farm with Paul and Adrian, Prep Group, Judy Byington, Judge Napalitano, and other sources. So let's get started. We've been hearing about digital money coming online and also social score. That's been kicking around for a while. So let's do a little bit of background. Anytime we hear UN, World Economic Forum, the World Bank, Federal Reserve Bank, and so on, we're dealing with the deep state. And who are the deep state? I'll show you. The deep state. So we're, as the Bible says, we're not wrestling with flesh and blood. No, we had fallen angels on the earth and they mated with humans. That's in Genesis. And they made the Nephilim. And then over time, they've made hybrids. And this is like 13 bloodline families, like the Rockefeller and the Rothschilds, some other families, Medici, Morgan, Collins, Habsburg, Windsor, and so on. On the royals, the deep state actually killed the real royal families, such as the Tsar line that was in Russia. But then the royal families would often hide out certain members, and that happened with the family in Russia. And they had several daughters, and we understood that Melania Trump was part of that actual bloodline of the ruling royal family of Russia. So at any rate, the deep state, these Nephilim, non-humans, have over time taken over royal families and governments. And now, I'll show you how it works. Okay, so we have fallen angel, and they mate with humans. Now, some of the bloodline families include the Kennedys and Trumps, but I'll show you. From the Bible, Deuteronomy, I think chapter 17, talks about they're going to be bastards and they can't come into my temple, says the Lord, until after the 10th generation, which would be the 11th generation. So the way I interpret that is we have this first mating, and then all of the children would be hybrids. But if you go through 10 generations and you only have this one generation with the fallen angel and they're always mating with humans, eventually in the 10th generation, according to God, they would be clear and would be human. Now, just in normal human genetics, by the time we get to 5th cousins, we're no longer genetically related. So that's how that works. And I believe that the Kennedys and the Trump representatives we see are fully human and out of that bloodline. But there are many who are not. The Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and many other families still retain. That's why they practice incest. They want to repeat and retain that bloodline. Okay, so now here's an example. Recently, Dr. M Salla, and I'll link that YouTube for you, had JP as his Army whistleblower talking about under Florida, they have giants, they have Nephilim in stasis. And they also had what's called in the YouTube seeds, which are actually semen samples that were on the, I think this was either there's a city under Florida and also an ark ship. So at any rate, there was a sample of semen on this ship of the Nephilim, and they were stolen by UK by the orders of King Charles, the current King Charles, who stated that the semen should be in England because it's compatible with their bloodline. It was apparently the semen sample was secured by the U.S. military and returned to the United States, but that's an example. They're not trying to hide their bloodlines. Okay. Now, recently we saw with the money, we saw money go from the U.S., the taxpayer dollars, to Ukraine, where it was washed by FTX, and then came back to the Dems and the Rhino Republicans for the November 8 midterms. It takes a lot of money to do certain things, and that's all taxpayer money. It was about $100 billion that went to Ukraine, straight out of the U.S. Okay, now we have Fox News bringing this out. This relates to the November 8 balloting in Arizona, that on November 21 it was reported a farm worker in Glendale, Arizona, that's located in Maricopa County, found some hidden mail-in ballots on a farm hidden underneath a stack of rocks. So they turned them over to the police department. All right, so that's going on. Now, we have this about the Federal Reserve. Since, yeah, that happened in 1913. Documents were signed by the deep state, the Nephilim, who currently and continue to be in charge of the U.S. government. All right. So the money taxpayer money would go from the U.S. to London, to the New World Order, and it would come back to the U.S., and the U.S. would pay interest on it because it would be the U.S. taxpayer money would be loaned back to the U.S. government. So, you know, the American citizens were getting ripped off several ways. Okay, now, what is going to take the place of the Federal Reserve as a new money system? Nasara Jasara. It's going to be gold, silver, plus backed by assets. And I know Russia and China, many Middle Eastern countries, plus another 86 nations are signing on to this. The US dollar currently has virtually no value and is not accepted outside of England and certain NATO nations. Oh, and Turkey, we understand, is to leave NATO. That would make sense. They're an ally of Russia. Okay. So now, the New World Order, because they're running out of money, Ukraine was a major laundering site for the New World Order, and that's gone away, plus other things. They want to implement digital money and do away with currency and couple that with what's called social score for American citizens. Now, the prep group is bringing this out. It's called CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currency. And other sources are bringing this out. They're currently doing a 12-week test. I think that's in New York, using simulated data. They don't want to tell the American people they want to take away all of their currency and money. Ooh, that might lead to a few upsets. Okay, now it's interesting that on 11/15, several things happened. We had a shootout at the Federal Reserve in Washington, D.C., of Federal Reserve employees versus U.S. Marines on November 15. We don't know the cause of that yet. Oh, and that today or yesterday's shooting at Walmart by allegedly a Walmart employee who shot and killed 6 other people and then turned the gun on himself. I submit that sounds to me like an MK Ultra individual who was triggered by the deep state. Yeah, they must be doing something and they want a distraction. Okay, so Joshua Philipp with the Crossroads and Epoch Times is talking about this regulated liability network that's going to be doing this testing of digital currency, and they want to roll out digital money and add social score. Now we have this. Yeah. So, and track. Also, BPEarthwatch is also adding this. They want to, the deep state wants to take away our currency, only put in digital currency that's controlled electronically on a computer, add in our social score according to the AI on computer systems. And then BPEarthwatch is saying they also want to track our carbon footprint, how we're traveling, how much electricity and gasoline we're using, carbon footprint. Now, Judy Byington, yeah, the BRICS nations are getting ready to implement quantum financial system, Nasara Jasara, and that in many places in the world, the US dollar has no value. Okay. And we have this. Dutchsinse, who tracks earthquakes and other things, brought this out. He'd brought this out a while ago about the tectonic plates underneath the continents are all about the same size all over the earth. This is interesting. I'll have to ask God, what's going on here? So he recently brought this out today in the U.S. because he was tracking the earthquakes in California. And then we had that pattern I listed in a previous video that once we see them in California, we had a 6-point this morning between California and Mexico, that it was going to go to New Madrid, and then it would come back to the Costco's plate. This was information given out by Mike from around the world a few months ago, and that would lead to major earthquakes in California. So that's going on, but Dutch is bringing this out. So in the U.S., we have California, we've got New Madrid, we've got Oklahoma, different areas are in these star shapes. What he's calling a star shaped. Some of them are different shapes, but he can measure them out in miles, and they're all about the same size. Now, on many of these, we have military bases, and on one of them, we have Meta, which is Facebook, a primary social score tracker for U.S. citizens. How many of us have experienced this creepy feeling when you're talking about something and then on your computer or your phone, ads suddenly pop up? I know years ago, I had a lady at my bank, and we were talking about this, and she said, yeah, I was at the bank working, talking about buying a new car. I go home, I get a phone call. It's from a local car dealer wanting to know if I'm interested in buying a new car. Creepy. Our phones and Alexa do listen to us, and it is tracked by an AI. That's how we see the ads on our current uh, uh, computers. Like myself, I'm thinking, in the spring, I have a 15-year-old truck, and I'm thinking of trading it in, and what I want is a small Hummer. And I've already priced them, so I have to get one that's older but low miles. They last forever. Well, I see the ads now all over every time I turn on my computer. All right. So now we have this. And in the movie Eagle Eye, that's another example of all the cameras and AI and how they track things. Now, right. So this social score, you're going to get a low score. And if you're in a digital money-only system, then the Nephilim AI system can just cut you off with no money if there's no currency flowing through your society. If you only have digital money, you are a slave. And social score, if you're religious, out. You're patriotic, out. You're anti-medical, out. You love God, family, and country, you're out. You criticize the government, you're out. You believe in free speech, you're out. You believe in Second Amendment, you're out. No money for you, says the deep state. So, now we have this. We had, on November 15, we had that shootout at the Federal Reserve between the Marines, but we also had President Trump come out to announce he's eligible to be president. Now, it's come out that he never specified he was going to run in 2024. He just said he's eligible to be president. But on the stage, we understand he was surrounded by 19 flags, indicating he's eligible and willing to be president number 19, and that would be of the U.S. Republic. So we say bring it. Yes, we're ready for that. Because look what the deep state is trying to do to us. Take all our money away now and all of our rights. Okay. So I have a description of the characteristics of a free people, some of them. The free people have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the Second Amendment, and that they have currency running through their society. They are not controlled by a digital money system. which is a characteristic of a slave people. And we understand the Nasara Jassara will be in each nation backed by gold and silver and other tangible assets, but that each nation will have its own currency, which is a characteristic of a free people. So let's say, God bless America and all nations around the world to give people a freedom, their freedoms, and a gold or silver backed money system where we have our own currency flowing freely through our society. And it's good to remember God is in charge and He is on the move. I love you, and I'll see you soon.